What's up, JC?
Hey, Caleb, we are here. Um, I am not sure if we are live or not. Looks like we got 37 participants logged in, though, so that number keeps climbing. Is there anyone from CHSAA on the call right now? Um, Looks like it is recording. Well, we'll just give everybody a few minutes to get on in here before Caleb gets going with the program.
Hey guys, it's Ryan. You're good to go, and I've made you host, so you have access to everything.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. We just weren't sure if you're going to be here or not. So
Yeah,
tell us when it's like go. When is it going to go live out to everybody?
whenever you're ready to start. We have it ready to go at 3:30. There's already
Okay.
48 attendees here.
Yeah, it's great.
And if you want to, you can also make Caleb a co-host, so he can have some of the same privileges you do as well.
Okay. Yep, make him a co-host. There we go.
Good deal. So yeah, appreciate you guys doing this and looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. And then is there anything that we need to click to go live, or you actually do that?
You're actually already live, so you're good. Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, we'll get rolling here, and then just one minute then at 3:30 Mountain Time, huh?
All right.
So, JC, do the students have the option to write in for the chat?
Yeah, I think so. We just heard from Sherry Purdue. She says it's live. Thanks, Sherry. So yeah, that'll be nice. So you can get some feedback. All right, looks like I got about 62 people. So that number just keeps climbing. So we'll just give everybody a minute or two more just to get on in so they can hear Caleb get this party started.
JC, you're looking handsome these days.
I'm trying. Doing my COVID haircut on my own, so works out all right. It's cheaper that way. All right. Well, it is 3:30 Mountain Time. It's 4:30 here in Texas. Caleb, what time is it where you're at? 2:30?
2:30 in Los Angeles.
Out in Los Angeles. All right, cool. Well, we're ready to get started. We got about 78 people logged on right now, and that number keeps climbing. So my name is JC Pohl. I'm the CEO here at Teen Truth, one of the co-founders of the program, and we're very honored to be working with you all tonight. We've been friends of CHSAA for a few years now. I got to come out about a year or two ago and speak at the Athletic Director Conference, and I've worked with some of your schools across the state as well. And Rhonda and her team there at CHSAA do such a good job with student activities and with sports that we were very honored when they reached out to us tonight to put together this program on mental health for you all. We know that COVID has thrown everything upside down, everything from sports, activities, band, music, theater, everything that we love so much about school and about school culture has really been affected by COVID. And so I asked Caleb Campbell to come on here and speak to y'all. He'll be putting programs together for the next 3 days. So we're here today at 3:30 Mountain Time. We'll be tomorrow, Wednesday at 6:30 Mountain Time, and then again on Thursday at 3:30. So make sure to tell your friends if they want to come out and hear Caleb's story, hear a little bit about Teen Truth, we'll be here. So I'm going to hand it over to Caleb to get this show started. Caleb is one of our very best speakers here at Teen Truth. He's our #1 mental health speaker. He's also a former NFL football player as well as a U.S. Army officer. So he brings a lot of experience and wisdom to the table, and I'm sure he'll put together a great program for y'all on mental health and everything just going on right now when your world has been turned upside down. So Caleb, it's great to see you on here. You take it away, and we can't wait to hear what you have to say, bud.
Thank you, JC. I appreciate that. Like JC said, my name is Caleb, and listen, I have a lot of things that I want to say to you. I'm even going to show you a couple of short films. Before I get started, though, I know that the staff and the faculty at your administration, at your school, you see, they work tirelessly and around the clock to get started and to make this happen today. So I just want to say thank you and give you guys a big round of applause for putting in the work to make this happen. Now, listen, I know as students, right? I've been a student before. I've sat in the same seats that you've sat in. And I know that you have all probably had your own fair share of assemblies, right? But what I need you all to know about today is what you're about to see today, what you're about to witness today. It's unlike anything you've ever seen or heard before. Listen, Teen Truth, it's not just about me. It's not just about my story. In fact, Teen Truth came from students just like you. I think we can all agree that we are living in unprecedented times, right? With COVID-19, with the inequality and the injustices, everything that we're experiencing, right? That there's a lot that's going on. And we believe that arguably more than ever before, that you are right smack dab in the middle of it. You all as students, as young adults, you're experiencing so much of it. And now is the time for you all to speak up. Now is the time for your voice to be heard, for your story to be told, because we believe that your story, it can make an impact. Your story needs to be heard. Now, a story you all are actually probably familiar with because it happened down the road from you in the state of Colorado. And it happened in 1990, and this story, see, it changed America forever. That's when two students walked onto their campus at Columbine High School, and we all know what happened on that dreadful day. And I remember exactly where I was when I first saw this unfold on television, right? I was getting ready to sit down and eat breakfast with my mom when I looked up at the television screen and I saw breaking news. 13 students murdered at Columbine High School. And I remember immediately putting down my food and looking over at my mom, and tears began to form in my eyes. And I was so confused. And I just said, Mom, what? Like, how did this happen? Like, why did this happen? And as the news continued to unfold, I just kept asking why, and how could two students be so helpless and so hopeless that they felt like they had nowhere to turn, and they walked on their campus and did what they did. And listen, we'll talk a little bit about this, but I didn't have the best middle school and I didn't have the best high school experience, but never in my wildest dreams would I ever consider walking onto my campus with the intention to harm my classmates. And I remember in that moment, I just kept asking why and why. And how many of you know, I wasn't the only one asking why. All of America at this time was asking why. And when the news got a hold of this story, right, they got all these different so-called experts. They got religious leaders, they got lawyers, they got doctors, they got law enforcement officers, counselors, psychiatrists. They got all of these different experts and they paraded them on their show, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, right? And they asked these experts to give us their expert opinions on why this happened. And these experts, they did. They went on and they gave us their expert opinions, right? But how many of you know, God forbid, these school shootings, teen suicides, injustices and inequality, chaos, it's erupting all around us. It's erupting in schools just like yours, in communities just like yours, in towns just like yours. And every single time it happens, we see the same experts on the same news station giving us their same expert opinion, but nothing ever changes. Nothing ever changes. But here's the deal. Do you know what we don't see? We never see the news or the reporters coming to students like you, despite the fact that you all are the ones living most of this, despite the fact that you are the ones that are experiencing the trauma of these events unfolding day in and day out. We never hear the news coming and asking for your story, for your truth, for what you are experiencing. And we think that's a mistake because, like we said, here at Teen Truth, we believe that your story needs to be heard. Your story needs to be told. And that's why we decided to do something about it. That's why at Teen Truth, we recruited 5 students from the state of California, and we gave these students cameras. And we said, listen, here's the project. Here's the deal. There's nothing off limits. You can do what you can do. You can say what you want to say. All that we asked these 5 students to do was to take those cameras, take them into school, take them into parties, take them into sporting events, take them wherever they go, and give us a real, raw, vulnerable, authentic experience of what it's like to be a young adult. Show us what's really going on in your life. And that's what they did. They documented their lives for an entire year. And so what we did is we took what they said and we took what they did and we made a film about it. It's our Teen Truth featured film. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to show you that film today, but that film has racked up millions of views across the world. And because of the success of that film, we've had the opportunity to go on and make more films, right? We made films about drug and alcohol abuse. We made films about self-esteem issues and body shaming. We made films about bullying. Heck, just recently, we even made a film about parenting. Right? So we actually gave cameras to students and gave them the permission to go into their homes and tell their families how they can be better families, how their parents can be better parents. I know, pretty crazy, right? But here's the deal. Since COVID-19 has hit, we've begun to see the popularity, the increase in popularity of this parents film trailer. Because students are spending so much more time at home and with their families and with their parents, with their siblings, right? That's where I want to start today's conversation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this short trailer from our parenting film. But here's the deal. As you're watching this trailer, okay, I want you to think of two things. One, as you listen to what these students are saying, these peers, these kids just like you, these young adults just like you, I want you to ask yourself, can you relate to anything that's being said on this film? Secondly, think about this. What if today I told you I was going to give you a camera and you had the chance to share your story, to share your truth, to talk openly and honest about how you really feel, about what's really going on in your life? Think about it. What would you say? So we're going to watch this short trailer and I'll be right back.
I have an okay relationship with my mom.
I really don't have a good relationship with my mom.
I don't talk to my mom one bit, like, ever.
My dad's more of a money thing, but I don't see too much of him.
My dad, I like hardly ever get to see him. And my dad, like, honestly, it's like mostly like fighting, arguing. I get grounded.
Our whole entire relationship is like nothing.
They weren't even there for me at all.
What are we having for dinner is like the most connection we have.
I grew up with the babysitter or the childcare center.
I was in daycare till like kindergarten, and then when I was in kindergarten, I went to daycare after school.
I would have loved to have one of my parents ask me, how are you feeling?
I just feel like I'm always looking for my mom and other people. That's it.
That's a powerful statement right there, right? She said, I just feel like I'm always looking for my mom and other people. That's heavy. That's really heavy when you think about it, right? And what that really does, when I hear that, it just really illustrates the fact that we are wired for relationships in life. We're wired for connection in life. And now here's the deal. I know that some of you probably have really great home experiences. You have family that support you. You have parents that are there with you and that love you dearly and support you. And that's amazing. I love that. But I also know that there are probably some of you where going home and being at home at all times is actually really hard. You're probably feeling alone a lot. You feel rejected. You feel abandoned. You don't feel loved, whatever it might be. These times are not easy. These times are really hard. And regardless if you're having a good experience at home or if you're having a bad experience at home, I can probably agree, we can all probably agree that we're all facing some sort of pressure in life, right? Whether it's social, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, there are these different pressures and challenges that we're facing every single day. You know what the truth is too, is if you think about it, when we're going through these different pressures in life, when we're going through these different challenges in life, I don't know about y'all, but it is so easy to act like on the outside, everything is cool, like it's okay, you know? But on the inside, it's really not. It's almost like, if you think about it, right? We are so afraid of letting people down. We're so afraid of disappointing people. We're so afraid of upsetting people, right? We're so afraid that if people knew the truth about what we were going through in life, what we were feeling, what we were experiencing, that we're just going to let them down and that they're going to see us differently, whatever it might be. It's almost like we have to put on this mask and we hide behind this mask every single day. On the outside, everything looks great, you know, like it's perfect. But on the inside, that just really isn't the case. And if I can be honest with you all, over the years, I perfected my ability to hide behind a mask and act like everything was okay when it really wasn't. I perfected my ability to pretend like everything was okay and not be truly who I authentically was. And if you've ever experienced it, or if you're living behind a mask, there's no shame in that. It's okay. But you also know that it's exhausting. I am sick and tired of hiding behind a mask. I'm sick and tired of pretending to be somebody that I'm not. And I'm sick and tired of seeing students doing the same thing. And that's why I love Teen Truth so much, because Teen Truth is what happens when students just like you begin to realize that, listen, no matter what I'm facing in life, no matter what I'm dealing with in life, none of these things define my worth. None of these things can determine who I can be in life, right? Teen Truth is what happens when students like you, right, begin to realize that, you know what, the mental health challenges, maybe the depression that you're fighting and you're battling against every single day, this does not define your worth or what you can do in life. Maybe the anxiety attacks or the panic attacks you're having behind closed doors does not define what you can or can't do in life. Teen Truth is what happens when students just like you stand up, find the courage and the strength to be vulnerable and authentic and say, this is me. This is who I really am. Like, let's get real. That takes a lot of strength. That takes a lot of courage to open yourself up and to show what's really going on in your life. It's not easy. It takes a lot of strength and courage to do that. And I think when we do it, we're automatically assuming the worst, right? We automatically believe that once people see what we're really dealing with in life, there's no way that they would accept us. There's no way that they would love us. There's no way that they would stay in a relationship with us. But how many of you know that just isn't the case? When these students in our Teen Truth featured film opened up about their struggles, their battles with whatever they were facing in life, all of America started to watch, because people want to know what you're going through. People want to understand the challenges that you're facing day in and day out. And that's not it. When you find the courage to open up and talk about the things that you're going through in life, see what that really does is it not only sets you free, it also helps other people. Here's the deal. I know we aren't connected like we're used to being connected. I know that you're not walking the hallways and bumping into friends and classmates or sitting next to them at lunch or going to lunch with them, whatever it might be. But there are still students today, some of y'all maybe even watching here now, that are having a hard time with things, right? And they're hiding behind a mask. And on the outside, they're acting like everything is okay. They got a smile on their face, but on the inside, it's hard, it's painful. And when you find the courage to open up and talk about what's going on in your life, you become a permission slip for other people to do the same. The people that you think are okay in life, but it just might not be their truth. Now listen, I didn't go to school in Colorado. I didn't go to school where you're at, right? I went to a school similar. I looked you guys up online, but I didn't go to that school. However, I understand that you all are probably facing different types of pressure in life, okay? And so here's what I want to do. I'm wondering for the next 30 seconds, if you all inside of the chat can just tell me one or two different types of pressures that you all are facing right now in this time period, right? Whether it's the pressure to meet expectations that are unrealistic, whether it's the pressure to live up to what your parents are demanding or what your friends are demanding of you at this time, whatever it might be, mental health challenges. Is there anybody that can just type inside the chat what you're going through?
Caleb, we're getting some kids coming in here. Some kids are sharing that the finals, academic pressure is something that definitely builds up for kids. Other kids are talking about just friends. I'm sure with COVID, connecting with friends is a challenge, or maybe drama that comes from friends at times. Anxiety, yeah. The pressure for perfect grades. We got a lot of athletes on this call, I'm sure. To be a successful athlete, right? Like what's going to happen? How are we going to win? What's our future as an athlete, maybe? That social pressure, not having much help for college, right? There might be kids on the call here that are just dying to go to college, dying to take that next step, but not really knowing where that help and support's going to come from. We're seeing anxiety, emotional pressures, pressure to be the parent, right? Some kids, you and I have met those kids on the road, right? Where they are the parent at home, and that can be a lot of pressure for our teenagers. Of course, kids here in the chat are mentoring about COVID, just some of the isolation and disconnection and some of the struggles with remote learning and hybrid learning, divorce of parents and all kinds of stuff going on, fighting a concussion. I'm sure different athletes here. So many things that students are going through. And I think you did a really good job kind of just getting kids to open up. You know, there's 124 of us on this call right now, and we're in a place where we can have a really open, honest conversation about some of this. So
let's just recognize how much courage and how much strength it actually takes to open up about the challenges that you're facing. So if that was you, if you typed inside the chat of something that you're going through, I just want to say thank you. And if we were there in school with you, we'd all give you a round of applause right now, because that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of strength to open up about the things that you're going in life, right? And so here's the deal. Like you saw, you all are facing a lot of different pressures in life, right? And what that just showed me, and I know what it just also illustrated to JC, is that oftentimes when we're going through something in life, right, it is so easy to feel like we are all alone. It's so easy to feel like we are the only ones going through it, right? But we just saw inside of the chat that so many of you all are dealing with the same challenges, the same obstacles during this season. So I just want that to remind you all that despite what you're going through in life, and I know it's hard, and I'm sorry that you're experiencing these things, right? But you have to remember that you are not alone. And that's why I'm here today too, is I'm here to empower you to push back against that pressure, right? Not to allow that pressure to define who you are and what you're capable of in life, right? Because here's the deal. Just think about this for a second. How amazing would it be if you could just wake up and be you, right? And not worry about what people think about you, or not worry about what people might be saying about you, not worrying about disappointing people. I know all that is heavy. It's a heavy burden to carry, but think about what it would look like just to take off that mask and to be authentically you. I believe that that right there has the power to change your life. Because here's the deal, when we deny, when we suppress what we're going through in life, when we hide behind a mask, that's when we begin to make decisions and choices that can not only affect us today, but can ultimately affect us for the rest of our lives. See, I know that because a lot of that, you see, that's my story. So I grew up in the state of Texas, right? A school very similar to yours, actually. And from an early age, I had ambition. I had dreams. I had desires. And I remember when I was a young kid, right? I ran up to my mom, and she was doing dishes at the sink at this time, right? And I ran up behind her and I said, Mom. She said, what, Caleb? And I said, I know what I want to do in life. I know what I want to be. And she said, that's great. What's going on? Who do you want to be? And I said, Mom, I want to get a Division I college scholarship and play football. And I want to go to a good school. But not only that, Mom, I want to play in the NFL. That's when me as a kid, right? I had these dreams and these desires to do that exact thing. And I'll never forget my mom. She slowly put down the dish. She turned off the sink. She dried her hands. And she looked at me with this slightly concerned but compassionate look. And she said something to me in that moment. She said, son, I will do everything that I can to possibly support you in your dreams, but I need you to know something. And I was like, yeah, Mom, what's up? What do you need me to know? She said, Caleb, those dreams, they're going to cost you. And I'm just a little kid, right? And I'm like, Mom, I don't got no money. Like, what are you talking about? It's going to cost me. She's like, Caleb, that's not what I mean. It's not going to cost you in that way. I need you to understand that those dreams are going to cost you time. It might cost you friendships. It might cost you relationships. You're going to have to make sacrifices. You're going to have to count the cost to make those dreams become a reality. Are you willing to do that? And I said, Mom, I want this more than anything, probably equally to some of you and the dreams that you have in your life. And I'll do whatever it takes, Mom. She says, okay, I'm with you. And there, from an early age, you see, especially as I grew through middle school and I got into high school, I knew that I had to draw a line in the sand. I knew that I had to have boundaries, right? I knew I couldn't do some of the things that my peers, students, or classmates were doing that were landing them in trouble in school or outside of school. And so what I did, when my classmates were out partying or drinking or even doing drugs on the weekends after games, I was in the gym training, or I was at home studying, because I had dreams and I was counting the cost. Whatever it takes, I want to succeed and make my dreams come true in life, right? And over time, my classmates and my peers started to think that I was just too good for all of them, right? They started to say, oh, Caleb doesn't do what everybody else does. He must be too cool for us. He must be too good for us. And it started out what was kind of a joke, but it eventually led into more verbal bullying that began to take a toll on my life. But don't get me wrong, like my classmates, my peers, right? They loved me on a Friday night when I was scoring game-winning touchdowns and leading us to a state championship in Texas. They loved me then, but not a moment went by that as soon as I walked off that field, where there weren't these nasty rumors or these lies being spread about me. One day I walked into school, right? And they had photoshopped a picture of my face and humiliated me and plastered that photo all around school, inside of bathrooms, inside of lockers, inside the locker room. And I was so humiliated. Heck, my senior year, I couldn't even drive to school because my car kept getting vandalized. Now listen, I am not saying this for you to feel sorry. I'm saying this because this is my reality. And this pain of constantly being rejected, constantly being left out, constantly not being accepted for who I am and what I want to do in life, it began to take a toll on me. Eventually, I started to question, why am I even here if nobody's going to support me being me? What's the point if I have to go through life all alone? After all, like I said, we're wired for connection. We're wired for relationship. I was 16 when I wrote my first suicide note. I'm the star athlete. Everybody knows my name. But I started to realize that there was no amount of success that I could have on the football field that made me and made the feeling of rejection disappear. There was no amount of achievement that I could accomplish that made me feel good enough about myself. Luckily, before I made that ultimate decision, a close family friend stepped in and intervened at the last moment. And I'm standing in front of all of you today and telling you my story. And despite those 4 years being the hardest 4 years of my life, I was able to persevere, keep my eyes on my goal, and I ended up getting a Division I collegiate football scholarship, but not just to any college, right? I got a scholarship to go play football and to attend the United States Military Academy at West Point. Not only was I going to be a collegiate football player at the Division I level, but I was also going to be an officer in the United States Army. I was ecstatic. Here's the deal. When I got to West Point, right? My sophomore year, I was the number 6 strong safety in all of college football, right? So I was in the top 10 in my position in all of college football. And because of that, everybody started to take notice, right? Now NFL scouts and NFL coaches are starting to ask like, hey, what's the deal with this Campbell kid at West Point? Is he allowed to come play in the NFL? And so the Army did something it's never done before in this moment. They wrote this new policy that basically said, if I was good enough to make it in the NFL, accomplish my childhood dreams that were becoming closer and closer of a reality every day, if I was good enough to do that, they were going to allow me to play and also to serve, right? So they created this entire new policy for me my sophomore year. I was excited. I was ecstatic. I go on my junior year, my senior year, and then after my senior year, right, everything that I had worked for all of my life had come down to this one moment, and I got drafted. Matter of fact, I want to show you this short little clip. Check this out.
He may not have to travel overseas and be safety for a nation.
With the 218th pick, Detroit has selected Caleb Campbell, defensive back, Army.
Well, the 2008 draft is in the books. Welcome into Radio City. Trey Wingo here with Ron Jaworski, Chris Carter, Chris Mortensen, and Mel Kipa Jr. Listen, Caleb Campbell being selected by the Detroit Lions out of West Point may have been the feel-good story of the second day of the draft and maybe the entire draft.
Everything that I had worked for in this moment came to pass. I'm on national television with ESPN, with the NFL Network, right? I just accomplished everything that I had dreamed about my entire life since I was a little kid. And I remember I was celebrating with some of my friends at West Point. I was celebrating with my family back home. We were just having a great time celebrating the fact that I made it to the NFL. And here's what happened, right? I got about 2 months off. I'm just gonna go with it. I had about 2 months off before I had to report to Detroit, who drafted me, right? And I remember getting a phone call the day I was supposed to sign my first NFL contract. everything that I had been waiting for, right? I was about to get some money in the bank. I was so excited to be on this team, to start training camp, to start playing in the NFL. The day that this was all supposed to go down, I got a call from my agent. He told me that I needed to get to the stadium because something was going on. I got in my car, drove over as fast as I could. And as soon as I walked in, I knew that something was wrong. I had just made it to the NFL, or so I thought. Let's watch this next clip.
2 weeks ago, the Army made a decision to revise their interpretation of a Department of Defense policy regarding athletes going professional, as opposed to serving 2 years active duty. This information was not relayed to Caleb Campbell or the team that drafted him in the 7th round just a few months earlier, the Detroit Lions, until the eve before their camp.
Second Lieutenant Caleb Campbell was blindsided by the Army when he was just hours away from signing a contract with the Detroit Lions.
Everything that I had worked for since I was a little kid, in a moment, was taken away from me. My dreams, everything was gone. I guess you could kind of say that in that moment, my world turned upside down. And honestly, I didn't know how to handle it. All these people were telling me what I should do, what I should say, how I should act. And I felt so much pressure of all of the eyes around me, on me, watching me, how I was going to respond in this moment. And I had all this pressure of trying to live up to all these expectations, probably similar to the same pressure that you feel trying to live up to the expectations of the people in your life, right? And I was so angry. I was so frustrated. I was so mad. I had all this grief in me, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I was so afraid that I was going to let people down. I was so afraid that I was going to disappoint people. And so that's when I began to perfect my ability to hide behind that mask, right? On the outside, I acted like everything was okay. My world had just been turned upside down, but I didn't want people to think that I was weak. I didn't want people to think that I didn't have what it took. And so I acted like on the outside it was cool, but internally I was hurting. I was just asking and crying out for help, right? And so I hid behind this mask and I suppressed and I denied all of the stuff that was going on in my life. And here's the deal. When you suppress and when you deny all of your anger and your grief and your disappointment and all the things that you might be feeling when your world is turned upside down, it's almost like a pressure cooker. And the more you keep it bottled in and the more you suppress it and the more you numb it, the greater the explosion is when it all comes bubbling out, right? And so the only thing that I knew to do and the only thing that I turned to in that moment to numb the pain that I was dealing with was turn for the first time in my life to drugs and alcohol. I was getting high in the morning. I was getting high at night. I was doing everything I can just to drink away my sorrow, to drink away my pain, because I didn't want to talk about it. I was scared to talk about it. I didn't want people to think less of me. I didn't want to disappoint people. And I remember I was just in this groove of partying night after night. And then there was this one day, so many months later, I remember waking up, sitting on my bed and looking at my bedside table. And I saw this mixture of drugs and alcohol, uppers and downers. And in that moment, see, I knew that my heart should have stopped that night. The uppers and the downers that I mixed with alcohol, there's no reason why I should have been waking up that day. And I was just sitting at my bedside table and I just completely broke down because I knew I was hurting and I couldn't keep pretending like everything was okay when it really wasn't. And that's when I realized that if I didn't do something and do something soon, it was only a matter of time before my friends and my family were going to be notified that I'm no longer with them. That's when I arguably did probably the hardest, most courageous, and the strongest thing I've ever done in my life. I opened up and I asked for help. I didn't just ask help for anyone, right? I found somebody that I trusted, that I felt safe with. And I went to them and I said, can we have a conversation? And I gave it all to them, all the pain, all the heartache, all the anger that I had hidden inside of me when my world was turned upside down. And in this moment, I began to realize that the best thing that I could do when my world is upside down, the best thing that you can do when your world is turned upside down is begin to take care of yourself. And the best way that I realized that I could take care of myself is being open and honest about the things going through in my life. And let's get real. It's vulnerable, like we talked about. It's scary to put yourself out there for the world to see and not know how they're going to respond. You're really facing rejection like you've never seen before. And I was scared, but I knew I had no alternative. But you know what happened when I opened up and started to be honest about what I was going through in life? People listened. Not only did people listen, but people I've never met before in my life started to send me handwritten letters and messages on Facebook and Instagram and social media telling me that because I was open about what I was going through in life, they could do the same. Like we talked about earlier, I realized that I could turn one of the more negative experiences in my life and create something positive. I found my truth. I found my story. And now I get the unique opportunity of traveling the country and speaking now to students just like you. I've been in hundreds of schools and in front of thousands of students, empowering you to find your truth and to tell your story. Now listen, I don't know you. I've never met you. I don't know what's going on at your homes or in your friend groups. I don't know what kind of pain you've experienced. I don't know if you're currently going through something challenging in life. And in case nobody has ever told you this, I'm so sorry for the things that you've gone through in life. I'm so sorry for the pain that you have or that you even might be experiencing in life. But I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart. When we suppress and when we deny the truth about what's going on, when we keep it bottled up and we hide behind that mask, we only hurt ourselves more. So I'm encouraging every single one of you, right? I'm not asking you to just to find somebody, anybody out there to talk to. I'm finding somebody that you can trust, somebody that feels safe, because I believe in you. You carried pain for so long in your life, and you know what? It takes a lot of strength to carry that pain. And it takes that same strength that you already have to open up and talk about these things in life. Now listen, I know that we are not connecting with one another like we're used to, right? Like we said, you're not in school, you're not sitting at the lunch table with your friends, you're not walking in and seeing each other in the hallway and talking like you're used to. But with technology, with social media, with these different opportunities that we still have to connect, we can still make a difference. You can still turn what has happened in your life this year, your world being turned upside down, in taking care of yourself and actually make a difference in somebody else's life. We still have that opportunity. So here's what I want you to do, okay? When I tell you, when I give you the go, I want you to take 30 seconds, grab your phone, go on your social media channel of choice, and I want you to, the first person that you think of, I want you to give them a compliment. Okay? I want you to tell them that you're rooting for them, that you believe in them, that you're here for them if they need anything. I want you to tell them what their friendship means to you, whatever it might be. Just pay them a compliment, all right? We're gonna take 30 seconds, jump on your social media, then put your phones down, all right? But go pay somebody a compliment, 30 seconds. All right, 15 more seconds. All right, finishing up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's put those phones away. I hope you're able to find somebody. If you didn't or you couldn't think of somebody, think about it later today. Go back on social media and pay that person a compliment or tell them that you're rooting for them, whatever it might be. Here's the deal. We still, as students, you still, as students, have the opportunity to make a difference in your school, make a difference in the life of a single person, make a difference in your community, whatever it might be, right? And here's the deal, when students like you decide to get together, get unique and get creative, especially in times like this, when you decide to get together and make a difference, it actually works. and I want to prove it to you, okay? A while back ago, I met a young man named Ryan, and his nickname was Rhino. His friends called him Rhino for short, okay? And here's the deal with Rhino. From an early age, he was a misfit. He was an outcast, right? Rhino was born with different learning challenges. And from the beginning, he faced rejection. He spent most of his time alone. He had a hard time fitting in with other people and getting along with other people. But here's the deal about Rhino. Rhino loved sports. Specifically, Rhino loved the game of basketball, right? And from an early age, Rhino always had this dream of playing basketball, especially in high school. And when Rhino was actually a senior, because he loved basketball so much, think about this, Rhino was that kid that could literally tell you every statistic from every player, from every team in the history of the NBA. He loved that game so much. And when Rhino, he grew up, he became a senior at high school, and he decided that, you know what, I'm gonna go out for the basketball thing this year. It's been my dream this entire time. I'm gonna go out and try to make my dream become a reality. His friends and his family that were close to him said, Rhino, don't do it. Don't put yourself out there for more rejection. Don't put yourself out there to be humiliated even more. But Rhino, he was one of the more resilient people I've ever met in my life. Rhino didn't care what other people thought, so he decided to go out for the team. Sure enough, he got cut. When he got cut, the coach came up to him and said, Rhino, if you give everything you've got for the rest of this year, if you give everything you've got, maybe just maybe you'll have a chance to suit up. Senior year, last game of the season, Rhino got that shot to suit up for this game, right? But this wasn't just any game. This was a playoff determining game. And at halftime, the players came off to the coach and said, listen, coach, we want Rhino to play. The coaches were like, are you crazy? If we lose this game, we're out. If we win this game, go on. And the players were like, we don't care about winning or losing. We want Rhino to play. He deserves this. And right here, you see Rhino being put in the game. Everybody in this gymnasium is on their feet, cheering at the top of their lungs because they know how long and how hard Rhino has worked for this moment. And we see in the game right here, Rhino, number 12, driving the ball down. There's about 7 seconds left in the game. Rhino is at the top of the key, about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rhino shoots. Nothing but net. He had one shot, one chance. He took it. He risked rejection. He risked being humiliated. But he had a dream, right? He made that dream become a reality. He took a chance in life. And what I love about this is the football team, arguably the most popular kids in school, they ran down from the stands and carried Rhino off on the shoulders that day. See, Rhino still talks about how today is probably the best day of his life. The best day of his life. And here's the deal. Just like Rhino had his world turned upside down and had the chance to forfeit his dreams, forfeit his goals, whatever it might be, to quit, to allow that anger and the bitterness and whatever he was going through to determine who he is and what he can do in this life. He made a decision and took the negative and created something positive with it. Just like you heard with Teen Truth, that took something so negative, something as drastic as Columbine, and they took that something negative and they created a film now giving students just like you an opportunity to share their voice. Something positive came out of this moment. Just like you heard with me, going through something so negative when my life was turned upside down, and taking that and now using that for something positive in my life and in the lives of others. I know that all of your lives have been turned upside down. And I'm not saying you can't be mad, you can't be angry, you can't be disappointed, because I'm not saying that at all. You can be. But I'm challenging you right here, right now. What does it look like to take care of yourself by opening up, taking off that mask, and being radically honest about what you're going through in life, and taking this mass disappointment that you all have probably experienced this year and turning it into something positive for other people? You have that opportunity right now. So I'm challenging you from right now to here on out to think about that. How are you going to make a difference? And before you can make a difference, you first have to take care of yourself. And taking care of yourself looks like opening up, owning your truth, and telling your story. Thank you all so much for paying attention and being here. I'm going to turn it back to JC.
Yeah, Caleb, it was so awesome to hear your story. You know, I've probably heard your story about 25 times in my life, and it still moves me. I mean, just everything you went through and everything you accomplished is just so amazing. But one thing you forgot to mention that I don't think came across is that you did end up making it back to the NFL, right?
I did.
Can you tell us a little about that? Like, you hit rock bottom. It was hard. Your world was thrown upside down. Talk to us a little bit about just getting back to what you want, to your dream.
Yeah, so when I fell in that rut, right, when I started suppressing and denying and numbing all that pain with drugs and alcohol, and I knew something had to change, and that's when I got help. And when I got help, I got recentered. I got back on track, right? And now just with the hard work, effort, perseverance, and really what I did, JC, is I surrounded myself by the right people, the people that wanted to see me succeed, right? At that time, I was hanging out with a lot of people that were bringing me down, that was like enabling me to make poor and destructive decisions. So when I surrounded myself around the right people, I saw myself starting to make strides in life, and I was able to bounce back and actually make my dreams come true. 2.5 years later, I got the chance to go back to Detroit, and I played in my first NFL season.
Very cool. And so I know there's a lot of students on this call right now. Thank you to all of you that hung out with us tonight. We had over 100 people on the call. I'm sure that some of them have questions. Some of them have struggles and challenges that they're dealing with. What I heard in your message and your story tonight is that, like, it's so important to tell our truth and talk about what we're going through. And I know that when we made the Teen Truth films, you know, Columbine and everything that we were dealing with the films, that's kind of like what we heard come through with those students as well. It's like, we need to talk about it. We need to talk about what we're going through. And I'm sure right now for many of you, you're kind of in the storm right now. I know that some athletes have had seasons maybe canceled or postponed. You've had some competitions or some hopes and dreams like Caleb had get postponed, or some of the seniors, you know, upperclassmen maybe have had things kind of taken away from you, and it hurts, I'm sure, inside. And so I was going to open up to the audience for questions, but Caleb, I guess one question I had for you, like thinking about what you went through and just kind of thinking about where the students on the call might be right now, especially with regards to like their activities and stuff, because they're kind of in the storm, right? And you talked about telling your truth and talking about it. What are some other coping skills that maybe has worked for you when you're in the storms, right? Like the storms never go away, right? Like, hate to tell you kids, but they keep coming throughout life. And so can you kind of tell us, like, reflecting on your story and just who you are as a person, like what are some of the things that you've adopted to work through the storms and come out kind of positive on the other side?
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to my mind, and I think it's practical for anyone, especially regardless of what age you're at, is when I was really in the storm, one of the first things that I learned how to do was practice self-awareness. And what I mean by self-awareness is I was able to begin to observe whenever I felt the negative emotions that I was experiencing, right? When you're in the storm, you might be dealing with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, whatever it might be, right? You feel overwhelmed, you feel stressed, you feel like you just want to scream, right? I started to really allow myself in that self-awareness to really recognize when I was feeling that tightness, right? Because we get ourselves in trouble and we make poor decisions when we make decisions from that tightness, from that tension in life, right? But then I started to realize that one of my good mentors and a counselor, a friend of mine, said, Caleb, the feelings, right, are like the clouds in the sky. You're the sky. The clouds, they come and they go, but you are meant to be the sky. Don't allow the clouds to stay when they're trying to pass through you, right? And then that's when I started to realize that feelings, as uncomfortable as they are sometimes, especially when you're in the storm, they come and they go. And you just start to learn to sit with them and to be patient with them and to not react to them. We have the power every single day to respond to what we're going through. Respond like the sky. Don't respond like the cloud.
Yeah, the clouds kind of move around in the wind. They're not very stable. They don't have a strong foundation. And what I hear you saying is, like, it's not really about what happens to you. It's kind of how you respond to it, right? And one of the strategies that you've used is to just kind of put a name to it. Like, and I'm sure maybe you've used journaling or talking to a counselor or just listening to music, going for a walk or a hike, like allowing your mind to kind of wrap around what you're dealing with. And once you know what you're dealing with, Well, now we can work on it, right? Now we know what we're dealing with. And I think that's great advice for everyone on the call. So I want to open up the call to any questions you might have. We've got a few minutes left. If anybody wants to jump in the chat. I know we had one question come across about the webinar series. We will be hosting these webinars tomorrow at 6:30 as well as Thursday at 3:30. They will actually be the same though. So we had a limited amount of people that can log in. And so CHSAA wanted to make sure we made the opportunity available for everybody. So just, Caleb will be doing the same thing. So if you liked what he had to say and you want to come back and check it out or invite your friends, we'd love to have you on Wednesday or Thursday. The other thing we want to let you know is that this session has been recorded. So maybe talk with your athletic director or get with CHSAA, and I'm sure they're going to find a way to get it out to everybody. So does anybody have any questions that you'd like to throw up to Caleb right now? Just maybe something on your mind, something you're going through, a piece of advice, a strategy, a coping skill, just maybe you want to be in the NFL or a professional athlete. You want to ask a question about that? Here we go. James wants to know, are you still in the NFL?
I am not still in the NFL. I am a little too old these days.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm sure it was a very fun run, though, the moments you got to spend there.
Yeah,
cool.
It was a really fun time, a dream come true.
Yeah. Someone else wants to know, what team did you play for? What teams
I played for the Detroit Lions, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm still a Chiefs fan. I did not win any Super Bowls, and I played about 3 years.
Okay, yeah, they're asking if you won Super Bowls. That'd be nice. 3 years, so that's fun. Someone else is asking, like, where does your faith fit into all this?
Yeah, I think faith is really important, right? And really what's really important is the faith that I had in myself and my ability to continue to move forward, the storms that I was weathering at that time. Well, we understand, right? We place so much emphasis on physical strength. We place so much emphasis and confidence in our skill sets, our talents, and our abilities. But what really carries us in life is not just strength, physical strength, but internal strength, resilience, grit, right? Resilience and grit is the ability to keep going when the world is against you. Confidence in you is going to be far greater than confidence in skill set, ability, and talent. And as you continue to weather the storm, and when your world is turned upside down and you keep moving forward, when you open up and talk about the things going on in your life, you start to really build a faith in who you are and what you're capable. And that's the faith that's going to allow you to accomplish everything you're meant to accomplish.
I like that, Caleb. Like, so many of us think of success of like the talent. We see someone super talented find success, but really when you study it and you look at success, it's about the grit, right? It's about taking the hits and moving forward. And sometimes the most successful person is just the person that kind of went out there and knocked on more doors and took more hits and got up off the ground more times to kind of be standing as the king of the mountain. Before we let you go, we just got a few more really great questions that came in. One of the students asked, how do you personally stay motivated? Like, I'm sure right now, like this student said, they have goals, they have dreams, but sometimes like they don't feel the motivation. Like, what are some things that you could recommend to students to like get up? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people on this call are like higher performing students and athletes. Like, what do you do when life's kind of weighing you down?
I'm going to be completely candid with you. I'm so glad you asked that question, because if I can be honest with you, Katie, I have not had the motivation to get up and do many things here lately. And for a lot of times in my life, right, because we're so performance driven, especially if you're an athlete, or if you have these goals and dreams in life, we a lot of times place a lot of emphasis in our performance, to get up, to go, to do, to achieve, right? But sometimes that is really exhausting. And so what I want to say to you is, or anybody else that might not be feeling very motivated right now, one, it's okay. Two, I think that lack of motivation, and what I started to realize in life is it's my body trying to tell me that it's actually getting burned out, and that I actually need to start paying attention to my emotional well-being and tending to my emotional well-being. So when I still go through seasons of not having motivation, I'm realizing it's not a bad thing. It's actually my body saying, hey, Caleb, we need some emotional well-being right now. You need to take care of yourself. And that's what I would encourage you to do.
Well, there has to be a little reset there.
Absolutely.
Kind of. That's your body and soul and mind kind of telling you to reset. So one last question we're getting a ton of questions here, but I wish we could answer all of them. But I know you have a busy day. One last question. West Point kind of came up in some of the comments, so I'm going to try to sum it together. Like we might have some students on the call that are thinking of going to the military academies. I tried to go to the Navy, but they didn't let me in. I'm
glad you didn't, JC.
I guess one of the threads, the themes in the question is like, how did West Point or your experience in the Army kind of prepare you for life? Or was there some theme or some kind of takeaway from your experience at West Point or in the Army that you use today or that helped you when you were kind of in the storm dealing with a lot of this stuff?
Yeah. And so when I look back at my time at West Point, and this doesn't just have to be West Point, this can be anything in life, right? But West Point became a training ground where I begin to cultivate the intrinsic qualities that were going to carry me on in life, right? The perseverance, the grit, the resilience. Every time I stepped on the football field, it wasn't just about scoring touchdowns and winning games. It was also about developing character. It was also about developing inner strength to continue and to press on when I was dead exhausted, right? It was all about those different things in life. And so I would say that whatever you're facing, especially when you're in the storm or whenever your life is turned upside down, these are amazing opportunities for you to grow as a person. They're an amazing opportunity for you to develop perseverance, to develop inner strength, to develop confidence in who you are. Even though everything is seemingly chaotic around you, these are the seasons where you grow the most. And that's what really West Point did for me. It was a 4 years of intense pressure. And I'll be honest, it was really hard and I wanted to quit almost every single day. But because it was so hard, I realized it was working for me to grow as a person and not against me.
I like that, Caleb. And that's something that we all should take away. It's in the valleys where we kind of grow, like up on the mountaintop, up on the peak, up on the summit, things are easy. We can look at the scenery, we can feel the breeze in our face, but when we're in the valleys, we're kind of in that mud and that muck climbing up the mountain. And I think that's what West Point was for you. And I think just hearing you talk, there's only 88 of us left here right now. So get this, just for us, COVID is exactly what you talked about with regards to West Point, right? Like this is a pressure cooker. We are in a very difficult time. And the way that the 88 of us handle this right now could define who we are, how we overcome obstacles. And what Caleb was talking about was kind of building that strength, right? That mental fortitude, that resilience. And I think COVID is like this amazing opportunity for us to get stronger. And so I thank you, the 88 of you that hung out here, the 125 people that logged in throughout the call. Caleb will be here on Wednesday at 6:30. He'll also be here Thursday at 3:30. So tell your friends, tell your family to come out. And again, make sure you thank CHSAA and Rhonda Blanford Green for all the hard work that she did with her team pulling this together. I hope it was useful. And we thank you for your time. Good luck out there.
If any of you have any more questions, find me on Instagram, Caleb_Campbell. Send me a DM and I'll get back to you soon.
There you go. Take care.
Thanks, JC.
All right. We'll go ahead and shut this thing down.